Oh, wait, let's unpack this. Today we're diving into a really fascinating piece. It's called The Farmer's Market as Crossroads, The Homeschool as Utopia, and The Pureblood as Profit.
Hmm.
And you might think, okay, a farmer's market, that's about, organic carrots, maybe some nice jam.
Right. Local stuff.
Exactly. But our source material suggests something, well, much deeper. Something quietly radical is happening there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about feeling good buying local. It points to this really profound distrust.
Distrust of what specifically?
Well, the source lists things like chemicals, corporations, corruption, even, and this is a quote, invisible ingredients handed down from an alphabet agency.
Wow. Okay. So a really broad institutional distrust.
Yeah. And our mission today is basically to explore how this shared skepticism is creating some pretty unexpected alliances and how it's reshaping really fundamental parts of society, like how we eat, sure, but also how we educate our children.
And what's really intriguing, I think, is how this distrust, this shared feeling, acts as what the source calls a new commons.
A new commons. How so?
Well, it brings together groups you'd, frankly, never expect to see sharing the same space, let alone, finding common ground.
Oh, cool.
The source gives this vivid picture. You've got the crunchy granola left, maybe in a Grateful Dead shirt,
Okay, I can picture that.
standing near the traditionalist, spiritually defiant right, maybe wearing camo Crocs.
Right. Polar opposites, usually.
Exactly. But here they're not arguing politics, they're just nodding politely, united by this shared feeling of apprehension about the mainstream.
Huh. So it's less about what they believe in ideologically and more about what they don't trust. It's common ground built on, well, skepticism.
Precisely.
Yeah.
A shared suspicion.
Okay, so how does the source then connect that convergence, the farmer's market scene, to something as big as education? That seems like a jump.
Well, it argues that this distrust, it doesn't just stop at food or corporations. It extends right into schooling. And it's transforming homeschooling from, what maybe used to be seen as a fringe idea
Right, kind of niche.
into what the source calls praxis.
Praxis. Meaning
These deep beliefs are being actively put into practice. They're shaping daily life, real choices families are making. And the core conviction, the shared belief that's driving this whole shift, it's simply that school is lying.
school is lying. That's blunt.
It is, and it resonates across different groups. For the left, the source suggests it's about finding educational freedom, maybe decolonizing the classroom, rejecting the whole testing industrial complex.
Okay, resisting standardization, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And then for the right, it's framed more as protecting children from propaganda or moral relativism, shielding them.
So completely different reasons, different fears, maybe.
Different starting points, definitely. But they land on the same conclusion. The public education system, for them, has fundamentally broken trust.
That's a really powerful common denominator. And I guess once that trust is gone, the source suggests people don't just, complain about it. They start building their own thing.
Exactly. They withdraw, and then they actively build alternatives, raising their kids within these new frameworks they're creating.
But how do these people find each other? I mean, the person in the Grateful Dead shirt and the person in camo Crocs, how do they connect beyond just nodding at the market? How do they coalesce?
Well, this is where the digital world comes in. It's crucial. The source makes this really fascinating point. YouTube is the new PTA.
YouTube is the new TTA. Okay, tell me more.
It means it's not always like a conscious, organized movement. Instead, algorithms are playing a huge role.
Right.
They connect people through shared aesthetics, maybe shared worries, this collective sense of threat the source talks about.
So you might be watching, I don't know, a video about.
Well, maybe the trad wife aesthetic on one channel, and then the algorithm suggests the off-grid dad with a beard like a Civil War general on another.
Yeah.
And they find each other's content that way.
Wow. It's not traditional politics connecting them at all. It's more like a vibe.
No.
The source mentions a shared faint memory of a world before everything got warped.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
And they start swapping tips. The source says it's everything from sourdough starters.
Practical stuff.
Yeah, practical stuff. Vitamin D levels, but also much bigger things like, and this is another quote, how to prepare your children for the ended empire without breaking their spirit.
Whoa. That's heavy.
Yeah.
So what's the core realization that kind of binds them together across all these different topics?
It boils down to something really fundamental, according to the source. It's this shared feeling. We may not agree on God, but we agree this isn't working.
This isn't working. That's the baseline.
Yeah, it's this unspoken, deep agreement that comes from feeling like institutions have failed them. It forms this really unexpected bond that cuts across all the usual divides. It's a very practical agreement on what's gone wrong.
And maybe that powerful unifying feeling helps explain the rise of terms like pureblood.
Exactly.
Our source talks about how that started apparently almost like a half-joking meme among the unvaccinated early in the pandemic.
That's right. It had this sort of ironic, defiant edge initially.
But it didn't stay a joke. The source says it evolved into something much, much bigger than just a stance on vaccination.
Oh, absolutely. It morphed into a whole worldview, a kind of purity ethic, even, as the source puts it, a spiritual caste.
A spiritual caste. What does that mean in practice?
It means it leads to real-world consequences,
Mhm.
like people refusing to date someone who's vaccinated, or refusing blood transfusions from vaccinated donors.
Wow. So the language changes too, I imagine.
Yeah, the source mentions terms like shedding, contamination, genetic disruption, becoming sort of normalized within these circles, these fears that vaccinated people might somehow transmit harmful effects.
And who are the people embracing this? Is it one specific group?
No, and that's what's really striking. The source calls it an uncomfortable truth. It's incredibly diverse. This isn't some monolithic block.
Mm-hmm.
You find former anti-apartheid protesters, survivalist Christians, plant medicine shamans, urban homesteaders, even mushroom microdosers with white dreadlocks, to quote the source again.
That is quite a coalition.
It really underscores that this isn't a unified movement in the traditional sense. The source prefers the term diaspora, like a scattered group of people who have all washed up on the same island, brought together by this shared experience in this evolving belief system.
That image of a diaspora, that really brings us to the bigger picture, doesn't it? The source argues pretty forcefully that the real split in society today, it's not really left versus right anymore, or red versus blue.
No, it suggests we're in the middle of a deep war on institutional trust.
A war on institutional trust.
Yeah. The divide, as the source puts it so vividly, is between those who still believe the cathedral is sacred and those who left mid-sermon to plant turnips.
Left mid-sermon to plant turnips. I like that.
Yeah.
So why this abandonment of trust? What does the source say caused it?
Well, it boils down to a core perception among these groups. Science betrayed them. Media mocked them. Government gaslit them. That's the feeling.
Betrayed, mocked, gaslit. Strong words.
Very. And the response to feeling that way, it isn't passive. People didn't just, sit there. They went inward, backward, sideways. And crucially, they didn't go alone.
They found each other.
They found each other. And this creates a kind of populism that no longer asks for permission. When this deep distrust becomes part of your daily life, you don't wait for the mainstream to approve.
You just build your own thing.
Exactly. You build your own temples, you write your own curriculums, you even try to cultivate your own immune systems.
But somehow it all cycles back to that farmer's market, where this quiet revolution, as the source paints it, smells faintly of goat cheese and patchouli.
And no one asks who you voted for, only what breed your chickens are.
Yeah.
It's a powerful image of a new kind of social fabric being woven almost entirely outside the old structures.
Okay, so let's try to summarize this for you, the listener. What does this all really mean? We've unpacked how this deep war on institutional trust seems to be fundamentally reshaping things.
Yes. Yeah, creating these unexpected connections. Totally new ways of living, really. We saw the farmers market becoming this new commons, right? Where shared skepticism about mainstream stuff, corporations, chemicals, government agencies, brings together people you wouldn't normally see together.
And that same distrust is what's driving the homeschooling boom, this shared praxis. For some on the left, it's about decolonizing the classroom, pushing back against the testing industrial complex.
While for others on the right, it's about protecting kids from propaganda or spiritual confusion. But the common thread is that powerful belief: school is lying.
And it's fascinating how this diaspora, as the source calls them, these scattered individuals, not really a unified movement, are connecting, mostly online.
Right, with YouTube basically becoming the new PTA, they might share an aesthetic or just this general sense of threat, maybe a nostalgia for a world before everything got warped.
And in those online spaces, they're swapping tips. Sourdough, yes, but also these really profound things like how to prepare your children for the end of empire without breaking their spirit.
And it leads to that core realization. We may not agree on God, but we agree this isn't working. That's the glue.
Then there's the whole pure blood concept. how a health choice, or maybe a rejection of a choice, snowballs into a whole worldview.
Yeah, purity ethic, even a spiritual caste, creating these really stark divides based on vaccination status, with fears about shedding or genetic disruption.
And the source stresses how diverse this group is. Plant medicine shamans, survivalist Christians, former activists. It's not easily categorized.
Absolutely not. Which brings us back to that core argument.
Yeah.
The real dividing line isn't politics as usual. It's between, quoting again, those who still believe the cathedral is sacred and those who left mid-sermon to plant turnips.
Because they feel science betrayed them, media mocked them, government gaslit them.
And so they build their own alternatives, their own temples, own curriculums, own immune systems. It's a populism that, no longer asks for permission.
Finding its expression, perhaps, at the farmer's market, smelling of goat cheese and patchouli, where your chicken braid matters more than your voting record.
Exactly.
So this really leaves an important question hanging there for you listening. As more and more people seem to be choosing to go inward, backward, or sideways because they feel let down by institutions, as this diaspora grows, what does that mean?
Yeah, what are the implications for things like, collective action, for just societal cohesion? How might this huge shift in trust keep reshaping the world around you, maybe in ways we're only just starting to see?